Hey everyone, my name is Nick, and today we are going to build a custom collection page summary and FAQ using Liquid, CSS, JavaScript, and Metafields. You can take a quick look here and see it's going to look like this on the collections page: a collection image, a summary, an option to see more or less and truncate that, frequently asked questions heading with a JavaScript powered dropdown. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and in the comments let me know what you'd like to see built next. All of the code that we're going to be using here today is available on my GitHub. I will put a link in the description, so if you get lost or just want to copy and paste, feel free to check that out. Now I'm going to start out here with a new duplicate of the Dawn theme, and the first thing that we are going to do is go into sections and create a new section. And we're going to call this custom collection info.liquid. You can name it something else if you want, but just make sure that you stick to the naming convention that you're familiar with and that you'll be able to reference later. Okay, now that we're in here, I'm going to go ahead and start with some boilerplate. I've copied some boilerplate section liquid from a different file, and I'm just going to paste that in here. I've made some changes here, and we're going to go over what all of these lines mean. So starting out in our top div here, we have a reference to an image with this interesting collections Metafield custom collection image. What in the world is that? That is a reference to a Metafield image that we are going to create on the collections dashboard. Now you're also going to see a few more references here. We have an array of FAQ questions and answers, and then also the heading, summary, and this is a recurring theme that you're going to get used to. What we need to do now is actually create these metafields in our dashboard. So let's do that now. So what we want to do is go into our settings and then custom data, and then under metafields, the collections. And this is the template that we are going to have these show up on. So the first one, I'm going to give a name here. I'm going to call it collection heading, and you'll see that it automatically generates the namespace and key from the name that you give it. I am going to give it a single line text, and it is going to be just one value. And then I will click save. Okay, and then we're going to do this again for each of those values that we saw on the page. So we're going to do FAQ questions, and this type is going to be slightly different. It's going to be single line, but it's going to be multiple values. And we're going to do very similar with the FAQ answers as well. Single line and list. Okay, and then we will do this again, and we're going to do it for the collection summary. And this is going to be multi-line text because it's going to be a summary. We expect it to be longer text. And lastly, let's do the collections image. You'll see if we do type file, then it will work. Okay, so we've created these 5 metafields in our settings, but we need to actually go to the collections and add them. So I'm going to go to hydrogen, and I'm going to scroll down to the bottom here, and you'll see our metafields are showing up successfully. So let's create first an image. I'm just going to select this first one, and then I am going to add a summary, oops, all right, that ought to get the point across. And then we're going to give some questions and some answers. So I'll do the questions first, and I'm going to call this, I'm going to say, what is your favorite food? And then you'll notice right here, you need to click this add item here so that we can create a list. Where is your favorite place? And what is your favorite? Oops. All right, and then we're just going to do the answers in the same order that we typed the question in. So the first one was favorite food, pizza, favorite place, and favorite color, I believe. Okay, so the important thing to remember here is that these questions and answers need to be in the same order that they were asked in, and there also has to be the same number of elements. They have to match up perfectly, and in the code, I will be able to show you why. Next, we're going to go to a collection heading, and I'm going to call this hydrogen collection heading. All right, now we're going to hit save, and our Metafields are successfully created on this hydrogen collection. So now I'm going to go back into the code. And if we look here, you'll notice again, these are my references to the Metafields. And hopefully this makes a little bit more sense now. So we're referencing this from the collection that this section is going to be rendered on. And then if we look at the lists, the questions and answers, we're getting that in sort of an array, and we need to be able to loop over that and be able to see each one individually. So I'm going to come in here, and beneath this H3, underneath our frequently asked questions, I'm going to loop through the questions and the answers in one loop so that we can see them displayed, and then we'll add some JavaScript that's going to make that drop down happen. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a for loop in Liquid, and this is a special syntax that's going to let us loop through the length and that we're setting up here. Now, why is this important? Hopefully that'll make sense here in a moment. I'm going to end this for loop. All right, and now I'm going to come in here and put some HTML. And we're going to have some styles later that's going to come, you can grab from my GitHub as well. Then we're going to have an input with a type of radio. And we're going to give it a name. And we're going to set that name equal to the section.id. Okay. And now within this, we are going to and we're also going to put in a nice little conditional here that's going to check if this is the for loop's first element. Then we're going to put this checked here, and that way the first item by default will be selected. And then from there, when you select other questions, it will move the drop down. So, okay, cool. After that, let's end that input tag first, and then let's put in a span with this class of accordion _ item -- title and FAQ question. Okay. Now, these naming conventions are actually very important because they're going to match up to our styles and to our JavaScript later on. All right, so first in this iteration, remember we're in a for loop here, so we have access to this I, which is going to be just an integer between 0 and whatever the length is of the number of questions and answers that you have. So let's output with our double curly braces, our questions with the bracket I, and then we are going to create a label with a class of collapse for, we're going to put the section ID in here again. Oops. Close. And we will close that label. Oops, we need to close the first part first. There we go. All right. And then we're going to put an H1 here with a plus that we are going to see just so that it indicates to the user that you can click on this and something will happen. All right. Now after that, let's close our span. Oops. And then we can add one more HTML element here, and it's going to be a div and style. I really should have put this style within the CSS block, but oh well. 15 pixels with a class of accordion item content. And here we are going to put the answers with the I element. And we will close out there. And then lastly, we just need to close that initial label that we created. And that ends our for loop. So I just want to make sure this is clear. This questions and this answers, we're accessing the I, which is going to be whatever integer it is. And those are looping through these arrays that we created within the collections meta field. Okay, so we have our HTML. We can take a look and see what this looks like. If we save, and actually it's going to throw an error, I think, because I don't have, oh, it looks like it worked. Now, if we want to take a peek at what we have so far, we can, but what we need to do is add this to the collections template. Otherwise, that section we created isn't going to be referenced anywhere. So I'm going to come down here, and under the last item, I'm going to add a call to the custom collection-info. And I am going to give it a type and set that equal to our section name. And give it settings. Enable collection info. And we'll default this to true. All right, so if we save this, oh, and we also, can't forget, to add this to the order as well. All right. And if we save this, and if we go to check out our collection page, looks like I have some. Here's our content. And we can see we have our image. We have a heading. We even have a read more button from the copied over HTML. We even have our questions and our answers. It just looks like garbage. So let's fix this. If we come back into the code and come back over here, what we're going to do now is add our JavaScript. Now I'm going to go over to the, actually first let's grab our style. So we're going to grab this style page from the GitHub that again is down in the description. I'm going to copy these style tags and I'm going to throw these up front. All right, now if we save that, let's take a look at what we have here. All right, hey, that's much better. Okay, starting to take shape. Now if we go down to the bottom of the file, underneath this div, I'm going to add a script tag. And actually, it would just be easier if we copy the script tag over from the GitHub file. So I'm going to copy this. And add it here. And what we can see is this read more summary is handling its logic right here. So if we save this and refresh our page, we can see the see more is successfully hiding and showing a longer and a truncated version of this. How is it doing that? Well, this is a bit of a hacky solution, but what it is doing is there is a paragraph tag up here with an attribute, a data set attribute of summary. It should be right here, data summary. And what we're doing is we are storing the collection summary in this data set element. And then what we're actually displaying is a truncated version of that. And if we look up higher where it's actually being rendered in our liquid, we're truncating it at 150 words. Now, of course, we can change that as necessary, and that might be a good feature to put in the schema so that the user, the end user customizing the theme has the ability to change that as well. So now if we save this and refresh, it is working as expected. We can see the read more, and we can see our accordion FAQ working as well. One last thing I'm going to change or add rather from the code base is this conditional statement right here, which is basically just a safety net where if the user does not have this enabled, or if there's not an image from our Metafields selected, then we are going to, not render this block. And lastly, I'm going to add the schema as well. That is checking for, that gives the user and the customizer the ability to enable this or not. Schema, give it an ending tag. And again, I'm going to just copy this from the GitHub. You can see right here because I don't feel like typing out JSON. If we copy that and paste that in here, what that's going to do is give the user and the customizer the ability, a checkbox to enable this or not, which can help when trying to move this to production and making sure that it's ready. Okay, if we save this, we now have a fully functioning custom collection heading and summary. And now let's see what this looks like if we add it to another collection so that we can understand the appeal of Metafields a little bit better. And if I navigate to a different collection, I'm going to go in and you'll see it has a blank field for everything. So I'm going to create new Metafields. Whoops. I'm going to create new Metafields on this particular collection. Okay, and then if we give ourselves some questions and answers, let's ask, what is your birthday? And how tall are you? We can go in here and say January 1st, 1990, and I am 5'11" when I'm being generous. And the collection heading the New York collection. And if we save here and go back to our theme preview, we'll have our same summary image, questions and answers. But if we go to the new collection, the New York collection, and scroll down, oops, refresh first, you're going to see that we have a separate image, a separate header, a separate summary, and their own questions and answers, thus giving you the power to customize your content depending on the page, the product, or the collection. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Please let me know what you think in the comments. A little bit about Metafields, as well as some JavaScript, Liquid, CSS, HTML. And I look forward to seeing you next time.